Hello, everybody, and good day. This is Fred with Tech Talk and Wentworth CCTV of New England. We are coming at you today with an exciting solution for wireless bridges that we have found readily available on Amazon. As you know, in the past, we have had videos on, Ingenious End Station 5s and Ubiquity's bridge solution. We came across these ULNAs, and again, they are readily available on Amazon. And it's essentially the same thing. They are 5 gigahertz high speed, long distance wireless bridges. We've tested them now for about a month and they're very stable. They work well. Okay, they work well. Very similar to the Ingenious End Station 5 AC. These units, they come in a prepared package in which you have a master unit and a slave. You can hook the master unit up to a building that has internet. You can see here in the picture they've used a farm environment. And we've actually come across this a lot recently in farms. But the barns now oftentimes need internet because they have robots that milk the cows. And internet is used to view that software and to do upgrades to the robots and all that type of stuff. So this here picture is not that far-fetched. But what would you do? You would hook the master unit, okay, using the PoE injector that comes with the kit. You'd plug that into your modem, okay, and it is the master. It transmits internet, okay. Think of this as a virtual wire. It transfers internet to the slave, okay, or to the receiver. And this also has a PoE injector that plugs into the PoE port of the bridge. And the secondary LAN port can be plugged to an Ethernet switch or a router. And again, that forms a virtual wire and gives this building internet, okay. We also could use them in campgrounds and marinas where they want to install security cameras throughout the property. Oftentimes they'll want to put them at pools and bathhouses or rec halls. You can use this point-to-point bridge solution for that type of stuff, for access control, IP phones, wireless access points for Wi-Fi, pretty much anything that's networked. You can use these bridges for. These are gigabit speed bridges. Okay, they have a very strong 16 dBi high gain antenna that operates at the 5 gigahertz frequency. And again, it's long range. With line of sight can go up to 3 miles. We've tested these at about half a mile, and they do have very strong signal. Okay, so we're going to log into one of these units and cover it a little more in detail. I'm going to do it right now. All right, everybody, what do you say? Let's get into the meat and potatoes. Before we do, you know the drill. There is a red subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Please click that and subscribe to our channel if you have not yet done so. That way you can be notified when we upload future content like this. Also, like the video if it's useful to you. And as always, leave comments. A lot of these videos are based on viewer and subscriber questions and comments. So certainly keep those going. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to unbox the product, and you will find 2 bridges, okay? 2 round dishes. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the cover off of the back of those. On the bottom, you'll see a cover. Once you take that cover off, it will expose your LAN ports, okay? There's a primary LAN port, a PoE port, that is gig speed, and there is a secondary LAN port. Okay, this is LAN port 2, and this is where you would plug in your switch at the receiving end, and it is also for the master unit where you would plug in the active internet. Okay, now this part's very important. You will see a and a B mode. Okay, this bridge can be in A, which is master unit. Okay. So the master unit, you will have to switch to A, okay? And that will be the unit that is in the main building with active internet, okay? The second bridge you would flip this selector switch to B, which would make it the slave unit or the receiving unit. We want to deploy that second bridge where you want the internet extended to. So we used that barn as an example earlier, okay? The access point on the house with the internet would be the one set to A. That's the master with live internet. The unit on the barn that is receiving internet, that would be selected to B, which is the slave unit, okay? So that's the first thing you want to do. Once you do that, you are going to use the included PoE switch, okay? These units do not have active PoE. They have passive 48 volt or 24 volt, I'm sorry, PoE, which means you need to use the PoE injector that is shipped with the unit. You cannot plug these into a PoE switch. They will not work. Okay, they have to get power from the plug or PoE injector that comes with the unit. And what we have here is kind of what that would look like, right? We have the PoE injector here that comes with the kit, okay? The master and the slave both come with a PoE injector, okay? That injector will have two ports when you look at the bottom. One will say PoE and one will say LAN. The PoE port of the injector will get hardwired to port 1, the PoE port of the dish, okay? That is the port that says 1000 or gig. That's the gig speed first port, okay? The LAN port, okay, the LAN port of the injector of the master unit would be plugged into your modem or router or switch, whatever you have that has active internet. Remember, the master goes with the house, with the master internet, with the main internet. The slave unit is the unit that was on the barn, okay? Or in a marina, it is the unit that will be on the slips. It is the receiving bridge, okay? So the master is sending the internet, the slave is receiving it, okay? That slave unit, now it's going to be plugged in the same way. It comes with the PoE injector. We will plug the PoE port of that injector into the main PoE port 1, the gigabit speed port of the slave bridge, okay? The LAN port of the injector would plug into the switch or whatever device you want to connect to the internet, okay? Could be an IP phone, right? It could be, like in this scenario, an IP camera that is connected to a PoE switch, and then we have the PoE switch connected to the LAN port of the injector, okay? So that is how we power up these units. So once you have put the master on A with the selector switch and the slave on B, the next step is to program a channel in the access points. All right, friends. So as you can see, we have the access point powered up. We have this main gigabit PoE port 1 plugged into the PoE injector, okay? And the access point has turned on, okay? The host unit is on A, okay? The master is on A. And we have the slave unit, which is in the field, okay, or the barn, that is on B, okay? The next thing we're going to do, we're going to use this reset button, okay? It is to the left of the secondary port. You are going to press that, okay, until you see a letter, okay? Doesn't matter which letter you pick. They are just channels, okay? I have used C, okay? And I will explain later in the video why. But you need to pick the same letter on both of these units. They need to be on the same channel, both the master and the slave. It does not matter if that channel is A, B, or C. It just has to be the same on both of them, okay? So I have my master on C. I do the same thing over with the slave. That will also be channel C. If you pick channel A for your master, that is perfectly fine. But you need to also program the slave with the same letter A. They have to be the same. They have to be the same. Once you do that, you need to give the access points 2 to 3 minutes and they will connect. Okay. So what we're going to do now, we're going to allow them connect and we are going to log into the console. All right, guys, we are in the home stretch. Okay. This part is probably the most confusing part. Okay. It's probably the most important part of the video to pay attention to. Okay. And that is because we need to log into these bridges, okay, to the master and to the slave. And to find the initial default access point IP address, you actually need to use the manufacturer's chart, okay? And I told you we wanted to program our bridges, okay, on letter C, which is actually channel 153, okay? I told you you could select A if you wanted to, and that was perfectly fine. That was actually channel 140, okay? See that? Channel D is 157, E would have been 161. So those letters just correspond to channels, okay, on the 5 gigahertz frequency. Now, this is where it's important. Because I picked C, the IP addresses that I need to log into my AP, okay, which is the master, would be 192.168.255.112. The IP address for the second unit, which was on B, right? The selector switch is on B. That makes it the slave for channel C, 192.168.255.212. So these are my IP addresses. That is how I will log into the units, okay? So let's do that. All right. The next thing we're going to do is log into the access points, okay? And this part often throws people for a loop. These bridges are shipped with a pre-configured static IP address. They are not in DHCP, which would allow the network router to issue it an IP address, okay? So we're going to have to log into these using their default IP to switch the units to DHCP, which will allow them to have an IP address on our local network, okay? The local network where I am at is through our internet service provider's router, and that is 192.168.0.1. And we saw earlier the default IP of these bridges are 192.168.255.0. So I'm going to have to put my laptop on that network, okay? And you may be hardwired or you may be connected to Wi-Fi. As you can see, I am connected to Wi-Fi. So I am going to go into those settings. But essentially what you're going to do is you're going to hit the Windows button on your computer and the letter X. And that is going to bring up this command prompt. We are going to go to network connections. Okay. And I am on Wi-Fi, so I see Wi-Fi. If you are hardwired to a modem, okay, or a router or a switch, you will just see Ethernet. You won't see Wi-Fi, okay? But that's going to be what you're connected to, and that's what you're going to click on, okay? We're going to go to Properties. And right here, folks, where it says IP assignment, we're on automatic, which means our computer is going to be issued an IP address from our router on the router's network. We need to be on the same network as those bridges. So we're going to go into the IPv4 settings, and we're going to give a static IP address to our computer, 255.255.2. And then our subnet mask, we're going to do 255.255.255.0. And what this is doing is it's putting your laptop on the same network as those bridges so we can log into them. We're going to hit save, and then you'll see this is now in manual mode, okay? We have given it an IP address on the same network as the bridges, and now we'll be able to log into them. Okay, so we're just going to open a browser. Doesn't matter if you use Edge or Firefox or Chrome. and we reference that sheet. And again, the host or the master is at 212. And it's going to ask you to log in. The default password, which you do want to change on any network device, is admin for the username, admin for the password. Okay? You can hit sign in. As you can see, we are logged in to the master. Now we can log into 212, and we are logged into the slave. Okay? I have logged into these previously. If they prompt you for a username and a password, those will both be lowercase admin, ADMIN. That is a username and password by default of these units. Okay. And that is something you want to change. Okay. Those are the two things we want to change. We want to change these and make them DHCP. So they will be receiving the IP addresses from your main modem or router. And we want to change password. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put them in DHCP. We want your modem or router to automatically assign them an IP address. So to do that, we're going to come down here on the left, okay, this is your toolbar, and you will see LAN, Local Area Network, okay? When you are on there, okay, here you will see the static default IP address, okay, 192.168.255.112. When we click this, it will turn blue, and it's going to now get the IP address and DNS server configurations automatically. Okay. So on both of these units now, we're going to go to LAN and we're going to turn this on. So it's blue. Okay. And it's important when you hit save here, when you hit apply, that you do it with the slave first. Okay. Because remember, it's connected wirelessly to the master. If you do the master first, it's going to change before the slave. We're going to lose our connection. Okay. So we'll start at 212 with the slave. We'll hit apply. And then we'll come over to our master and we'll hit apply then. Okay. Now what we can do is we can hit Control X again. We can go to our network connections. We can go to Wi-Fi, to our properties, and we can change our IP assignment configurations back to auto, which is DHCP. Okay. And you should see us go back online right there. Okay. So we are back on our local network. So now you're going to ask, that's great, Fred. Now that we have our bridges, okay, our master and our slave on our local area net, how am I going to find our IP addresses for them? Because right now they're changing and they're being configured automatically by what? By your modem or router. So you are going to have to download an IP scanning tool. Okay. I have something on my computer called Advanced IP Scanner. Okay. If you Google Advanced IP Scanner, you can download this tool. Okay. And we can write in our local area network settings. Okay. I'm 0.1 through 254. Okay. If you have a Netgear, you may be 192.168.1.1. If you don't know what your IP settings are, you can go to the search bar, type CMD, which is your command prompt. Just type IP config here. This is where I'm getting my 192.168.01. You may have 192.168.1.1. You may have 10.1.10.1. Doesn't matter what you have. That's what you're going to want to put in here. Okay. And when you hit scan, it's going to scan your network and we're going to be able to find the IP address of those two units. Okay. And that is how they will come up right there. Okay. Shenzhen L Wi-Fi. So we know from this that the master is at 2.7. Okay. We'll check it out, make sure it worked right. There we are. Okay. It tells us it's the master, tells us it's on the channel, and we're good to go. Now let's go in and we'll try to find our slave. And the slave is going to be 192.168.0.23. And we'll log in. Again, it's admin. And here you see it is the slave. And as the chart showed us, it is channel 153. Okay. So we have saved the, or changed rather, the IP address from the default 192.168.255 to that of our local network. Okay. Let me just get 0.27 for the master, and I will show you how to change the password. Okay. So we have them both there. This is the master. This is the client. We'll start with the client just like we did in changing the LAN settings to DHCP. We're going to go into administration. And right here is how you change the password. Okay. You can also change the name of the device. So when you do that scan, it will show. Okay. So again, 23 is the slave. And we can change the password to whatever we want. Okay. So we could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you're going to have to verify it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. You could change your time zone if you like. And then hit apply. It says the password will take effect after rebooting. This is why you want to do the slave first. Okay. So we'll hit OK there. And then now we'll do the same thing for the master. Administration. We can change this to master. Whoops. Sorry about that. This just makes it easier to find on your network when you're doing that scan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we'll hit save for that. We'll let it reboot. And again, changing the password is very important, not just for these bridges, but for any networked device. Okay. People can search them by MAC address, particularly with the new P2P technologies, cloud technologies that are out there. And you want to change those passwords to protect your networks. Okay. But these are good to go. Once you are done, and once you have done all of this, you can check signal strength simply by looking at the AP and the strength indicator on the side. Okay, so let's switch to that view. All right, and here we go. Here is your signal strength indicator. Okay, so as the line gets thicker, that's getting towards max reception. So what we have here is maximum, a great signal. Okay. If we had 1 dot, that would be very weak. 2 dots would be fair. 3 dots would be pretty good. And when we get all 4 of these, we have full signal strength. Okay. Of course, they have an indicator light for power, and your LAN and your WAN and all of that type of stuff. But you'll want these indicator lights to be strong. Okay. That means the white of each access point is facing towards each other. We're going to have good signal with low packet loss and good transmission. Okay. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Again, you can purchase these bridges in a kit using the link in the description of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the field.